Hello.
Hello?
Is this the dustbin meeting?
The wheelie bin, yes.
Oh, yeah, wheelie bin. Yes, a wheelie bin. I'm sorry, I'm a bit late. Is anyone else here?
No, just me.
Are you expecting more people to come?
Oh, well, I don't know, really. It's not really my meeting. It's supposed to be Tom's meeting, but he can't make it, so he sent me all the login details and asked me to take over for him.
Tom?
Yes. Tom, you know, Tom. He lives on Western Road. He's always running these community things.
Is that what he's not?
Yes, I suppose so. Anyway, Tom.
Okay. Sorry, I don't know Tom.
Oh. Well, it doesn't really matter, does it? I'm sure you can talk about wheelie bins despite not knowing Tom.
I think we can assume that my knowledge of wheelie bins is not contingent upon my knowledge of Tom. So who are we waiting for?
I don't know. Tom didn't give me a list of who to expect. Just the login details and the basic information. Perhaps we just better start. Anyone else who comes will have to catch up.
Start with just the two of us?
Well, then I can tell Tom that the meeting went ahead. He is very keen that it goes ahead.
Okay, then.
Okay, so the first thing we've got to do is for everyone to introduce themselves. That shouldn't be too hard.
There's only us.
Well, I'm just following Tom's list.
He didn't give you a list.
Oh, I meant a list of people he expected to show up. Attendees, that's the word. But I've got a list of things to talk about. An agenda, I suppose you'd call it. Though that seems a bit grand for a meeting about wheelie bins that attracts just 2 attendees.
Well, fair enough. I'm Max.
Hello, Max. Fee.
Hello, Fee.
Normally I'd shake your hand, but I'm not sure we're allowed to do that, even electronically. Electronic elbow bump?
Yeah, okay then. These dustbins then.
Wheelie bins.
Sorry, yes, wheelie bins. What is it we're supposed to be discussing about them?
Oh, well, first on the list, the agenda, is the plan to make a community rota so that the elderly and disabled can have their bins put out for them so they never miss collection day.
I don't really have much of an opinion on that. Sorry.
No? Oh, well, that's all right. Any suggestions as how we could go about putting it into practice?
Afraid not. I think to get that going first, you'd need a meeting with more than 2 people, the attendees.
Yeah, you're right. Can't go making grand plans about what other people will do if they're not here to agree to them, can we? I'll have to tell Tom that that we'll need to put that back on the meeting for next time. Okay, so item 2 on the agenda. Should the council charge extra for collecting garden waste?
Sorry, no idea. Maybe.
Fair enough. Moving on. Item 3 on the agenda then. What measures should be taken to ensure that residents keep their wheelie bins clean so as to minimise the risk of attracting pests?
I'm not being much help, am I?
Perhaps we'd better go at it a different way. Max, what have you got to say about wheelie bins?
Me personally, I've got to admit, they're not really a subject that exercises me all that much. I don't really think about wheelie bins from one week to the next.
Do you mind me asking, Max, why, in that case, you've come to an online meeting specifically to talk on the subject of wheelie bins?
My employer told me to. James, well, strictly he's my co-employer.
And why did your co-employer James tell you to attend this meeting?
Oh, he was. The dustbin men had taken some polystyrene out of the recycling bin and left it by the side of the road last Thursday.
Well, for one thing, polystyrene isn't recyclable, so it shouldn't have been in the recycling bin. And for another, strictly speaking, according to council policy, the bin men should have refused to take the bin at all if it was incorrectly filled. They actually did him a favour by emptying it rather than just leaving it on the curb still full. And for another, he should take this up with the council. This meeting isn't a proper forum for individual complaints, especially when the complaints are groundless.
Well, I thought it'd be something like that. I did try to tell him, but he wouldn't listen. He'll be cross now. He's got a bit of a temper on him, James.
What is it your co-employer James employs you to do, Max?
Well, look after his kids mostly. Bit of cleaning, occasional cooking, general stuff around the house.
Putting the bins out?
Only sometimes. James does that when he's around. That is a man's job, isn't it? James says. I think he likes being seen hauling the bins down the drive. We've got quite a long drive in all weathers.
You say we've got a long drive. You mean you live there with him?
I do, yeah. I've got my own little annex. It's quite nice, really.
So you're an au pair?
Well, you could call it that if you wanted, yeah. Although obviously I'm a bit older than your average au pair.
So I assume that your other co-employer is James's wife?
Margaret, yeah. Yeah, she's okay. Getting all right. I better get on with James anyway.
How long have you been working for him?
It's been coming up 3 years now. It's not a bad job. I had to find something in a hurry when I split up with my wife, and it came at just the right time. Free accommodation, and get paid. Not that much, but enough. I don't really intend to stay, but suits me. Plus, it'll be hard to leave the kids now. It can be a bit of a pain sometimes, obviously, but kids.
So where are they now? Not at school during lockdown, I assume.
No. School's shut. Except for key workers. They're with Margaret, their mum, in the house at the moment. I've got the afternoon off. Well, say off, but here I am doing James's instructions to talk about the dust wheelie bins. Do you have kids?
Me? No. Never really wanted them. The circumstances were never quite right. So when I've wanted them, I've never been with someone who wanted them at the same time. Once I was with someone who did want them. Nice bloke, actually. But then at the time I wasn't ready. Anyway, still time. And you? Do you have children of your own?
I do, yeah. Well, just the one. Lives with her mum. She's in the sixth form. Doing pretty well. Wants to be an architect. She comes around quite often. Very, very fond of the girls too. What do you do?
I'm an artist.
Oh, an artist. Wow. You mean you make a living out of being an artist?
Oh, well, not exactly a living, no. Oh, I sometimes do a bit of work as a supply teacher in junior schools. It's nice working with children, isn't it? But I'm really an artist. I had an exhibition in the gallery in town 2 years ago.
Really? Oh, that's great. Oh, I'm sorry I missed it.
So what do your employers do, apart from co-employee, that is?
Well, James is something in the city. I don't really know what he does exactly. Bit out of my league, of my pay grade, literally and metaphorically. Oh, he must have a hack it. But he hardly sees his children. That's no way to live in my book. He leaves in a rush in the morning, barely exchanges a word with them or with his wife. Most nights arrives home after their bedtime. And if he does happen to get home a bit earlier, what does he do? More often than not, goes out for a run. Says he needs to relieve his stress. He's been around a bit more recently during lockdown, but doesn't mean he's got any more to say to his kids.
What about his wife, Margaret?
Yeah, she's a good sort. Great with the kids. Puts up with him pretty well on the whole. She works part-time in a bookshop, mostly for the social life, I think. Can't really need the money. Must get paid less than they pay me, or sort of defeat the object otherwise. Of course, she's got a forceful streak in her, though, which comes out when she's annoyed. Normally she and I get on pretty well, but last week something seems to have got her going, and she took it out on me. Better than taking it out on the kids, which she would never do. So I'd clean the house, as I do on Thursdays, and normally she hardly pays any attention, but this time I'd not been thorough enough with one of the toilets. Left a bit of a ring around the waterline. And not only did she complain, but then she went round looking for other things to find fault with. She was peering to every nook and cranny in the house just to pick holes in her. She was quite short of me, to tell the truth. Though, yeah, she did apologise, I'll give her that.
Sounds a bit weird. But she's usually so agreeable. What made her fly off the handle like that?
What? I probably shouldn't be telling you this. I suppose it's not as if you know them or you're going to bump into them in town this size, but for some time now, I've thought there's something a bit fishy about him. I reckon he's having an affair.
What makes you think that?
Well, to start off with, he's always texting furtively. It's a bit of a cliche, I know. And I realise he must have to deal with work texts at home. But if you could see him when he's texting, he looks like the textbook definition of shifty. Turns it off as soon as his wife walks in. Then there's the jogging. Most Thursday and Saturday evenings, he goes out for a couple of hours, which should mean he runs quite a few miles, comes back in quite a sweat. But he's hardly panting. He disappears into the shower the second he walks in, so I don't know if she notices, but I have. I don't think he's jogging at all. Well, not the vertical kind.
He could be sneaking off to the pub or something.
Yeah, I suppose. He's not much of a drinker. And get this, last Wednesday, I saw him come out of the station about 6:30 and get in a taxi. I happened to be passing. But when I got back, he wasn't there. He arrived home about 9 after the kids were in bed, as usual, and I heard him tell Margaret that he'd been held up at work and had only just got off the train. What'd you make of that?
Yeah, that does sound suspicious, doesn't it? Looks like he's a two-timer. Ugh, what a swine. Poor Margaret.
I've not said anything, of course. Don't want to start any trouble. And no good ever comes of sticking your nose in other people's business, does it?
Well, in my experience, it's always the messenger that gets shot.
Only just the other day, I was having a similar conversation with Jasmine. She'd asked me about something that happened at school, something she'd overheard, and whether she should say anything to her friend, and I advised her, keep quiet.
Jasmine?
Yeah, their elder daughter, 9. Lovely girl. She likes art too. You'd get on well with her, I'm sure.
What's their other daughter called?
Sasha, 7. She's more into sporty things, just started gymnastics.
Sasha. That's a nice name.
Yeah, it is, isn't it?
I knew someone once with daughters called Jasmine and Sasha.
Coincidence?
Only their mother wasn't called Margaret, she was Meggie.
But that's even more of a coincidence. Everyone calls Margaret Meggie. Yeah. I feel a bit strange calling my boss, my co-boss, by a nickname. It must be the same family.
No, No, that can't be. That can't possibly be. Because the husband was called Jim, not James.
But again, I think almost everyone calls him Jim except me. How extraordinary. You used to know them, did you? When was that?
Well, I only knew Meggie and her daughters by repute. I never actually met them, but I knew Jim really quite well.
And he told you about his wife and Jasmine and Sasha?
Well, he was a bit reluctant to tell me, to tell the truth, but I insisted.
I'd tell him you're around. I'm sure I'd be glad to know.
Hang on a minute. Did you say he goes jogging on a Saturday?
Yeah, that's right.
That can't be right. He spends Saturday evenings with his kids, doesn't he?
Not generally, no. They sometimes go out as a family during the day on Saturday, a meal or whatever, but he goes out jogging in the evening more often than not. Why'd you ask?
And you say last Wednesday you saw him get off the train at 6 and not get home till 9.
Yes.
Bastard.
What? Oh, what have I said?
Bastard! He told me he'd finished with her.
I don't understand. Finished with who? You don't mean Margaret?
No, I don't mean bloody Margaret. I mean his bloody fancy woman. He told me he'd ended it. I haven't seen him on a Saturday for months, the lying bloody bastard.
What?
And last Wednesday, he said he tried to make it after work, but he cancelled at the last minute. Said his wife was getting suspicious. So if he didn't go home, where did he go, as if I didn't bloody know?
You mean you were expecting to see James on Wednesday evening?
I can't believe this.
I'm not sure I've got this straight. So it's you who's having an affair with James?
Oh. One of 2 women having an affair with him, to be strictly accurate, to tell the truth. Or is it just 2? Who knows, the lying bastard? Could be half the women in town.
Oh, I see. Well, this is a bit awkward, isn't it?
Awkward. Is that all you can say? Awkward. It is more than just awkward. 7 years of my life I've given to him. He told me he'd leave her. He told me they had nothing in common, that their marriage was all but over.
Yeah, to be fair, that much was true.
You're not helping.
Sorry.
You're sorry. My life's imploding and you're sorry.
I don't know what to say, but maybe don't shoot the messenger.
But I put up with it. The snatched couple of hours once or twice a week, never being able to see him in public. And the lies, the endless lies. Never being able to tell the truth. Making excuses to my parents why I never brought anyone home to meet them. And now I find out I wasn't even the only one. He told me it was just a fling and meant nothing when I caught him out. He told me he'd stop seeing her. I can't believe I've put my life on hold for him. He told me we'd have a family of our own. God, I am such an idiot. It was all just a mirage. What have I got left?
But there's your art. Maybe you could have another exhibition.
I had 4 pictures in a group show. Not one of them sold. Oh, Jim said he wanted to buy one, but couldn't think how he'd explain it to his wife. I don't think he ever really even liked them.
See. What are you going to do?
Well, that's it. I've had enough. I'd rather be alone than spend another minute with him. God, 7 years down the drain.
7 years? That means he just had Sasha when you started up with him.
Well, I didn't know that at the time, did I? I had to gradually wheedle the details out of him.
You didn't realise he was married?
Well, he didn't say so to start with. But it was obvious, wasn't it? Oh, God, I knew. But it was just a bit of fun. It didn't seem to matter. He was very plausible. I didn't think about the ramifications. By the time I did, it was too late. Now it's all gone. It's just all a mistake. Just rubbish.
I don't really know you at all, but I'm sure you can get over this. Maybe you've made a mistake, but we all do. The trick is to carry on.
You know, I'll tell you what I've got left. Regrets.
I remember my grandmother sometimes had a picturesque turn of phrase, and once said something to me that when I was upset about something, I've always remembered it. Regrets won't buy you any rhubarb. Screw them up and toss them on the dustbin of history.
Wheelie bin.